One second, my PC is dying. I forgot to plug it in.
Come on. This is a professional show here, man.
This is some rookie shit right here. Shit.
All right, everyone. This is my show now. Welcome back to the Noah cast, where we talk about how much Roie is a fucking goon. Look at his fucking dirty ass haircut. Thinks he's fucking slick or something. He's got this big ass fucking beard. Clean yourself up, man. Get your fucking shit together. Get your computer plugged in. Jesus Christ. Are you back?
We're back to the show.
Hey, we got Roie, everyone. We got my boy Roie over here. What do we got? What do you got for us, Roie? Tell me about the news.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the SmeshCast. It is Smesh Sunday. We are fresh off the fights. Derrick Lewis knocking out Blaydes in the second round and finishing him off with some pretty devastating ground and pound. Oh my God.
That's somewhere. It's somewhere beyond a knockout. I don't think it's okay to just call it a knockout because I feel like I watched a murder. That was one of the most brutal KO shots I've seen in a very long time. Like since fucking Kevin Lee fucking head kicked fucking Gillespie or fucking
and Gane over him, man.
And Gane over him, yeah. Like it's one of those fucking strikes that's just, oh my God, what does that do to a person's brain? Like in the moment, that
you know what it reminded me of?
Short circuit. What's that?
It gave me straight flashbacks of Bisping getting knocked out by that H-bomb. You know, that follow-up shot by Hendo when Bisping was already out cold and there was no need for it. And that follow-up shot made his whole body almost levitate.
Yeah.
Same thing happened here with that second shot that was landed on Blaydes' already unconscious body was just.
Ugh. It was a lot. It was fucking brutal. I'm of a mixed mindset on that. So I'm sure you heard, but apparently Curtis Blaydes' team is not very happy about those extra shots from Lewis, to which he replied, blame Herb Dean, which we all know. Herb Dean kind of shit the bed a little bit last night, as he, occasionally does, let Olenek take a fucking serious beating. And then, but those extra shots, I don't exactly blame on Dean. Here's the thing that I think is the uncomfortable truth that I don't think a lot of people want to acknowledge. These are violent guys engaged in a violent sport especially at heavyweight, where the goal is to shut down a person's brain. And you're surprised that they're so intensely, full of adrenaline and like in a violent mindset that they're not like, if there was no ref in there, someone's going to die. Like they'll keep fucking throwing until they're done. Because they're fighting. They're fighters. That's why the ref is there. That's what their job is. So it's an uncomfortable reality, I think, that like some of these guys, not all of them, but some of them are like that fucking brutal that they're going to go in and, you need someone to stop them because, they're in that fight mindset.
So I mean, when I actually look at that stoppage, I didn't see anything wrong with it. When I was watching the fight live, I mean, obviously everyone saw Blaydes go down, but I did not think Blaydes was literally already out cold. I thought he went down, guys go down while still being somewhat conscious, just being hurt, right?
Yeah, I thought that's what happened. Single, you never know.
Yeah, no, I thought he dropped to his knees, which happens all the time, and then Lewis quickly got the ground pound and it was stopped. I think that was kind of how I see a lot of stoppages going. It's just because Derrick Lewis is Derrick Lewis, and first of all, that uppercut, when you see the replay, he wound that up. It was not one of those short uppercuts.
That was a Mortal Kombat uppercut.
He might have jumped into a backflip out of it, man. It was crazy.
If that was me, I would have got airtime from that shit.
Right? And so, so that was insane. And then not only that, but something that's underrated about Derrick Lewis, I think, is his ground and pound. When you think about a lot of his finishes, there are a couple guys he's hurt and rocked and put down. And that happens in heavyweight. Guys get rocked and put down and they manage to recover and get up. But when Derrick Lewis rocks you, notice that every time he gets on top and he puts you asleep with ground and pound quickly. Look at the Volkov win, right? He knocked Volkov down. Volkov was okay. He was dazed. He was hurt. but then 3 or 4 ground and pound, and Volkov
He was out. He was done.
out.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you fight Derrick Lewis. So that's just kind of, again, what happens. And I don't think you can put that one on Herb Dean. I don't think you can put that on Lewis either. I don't think he necessarily knew that Blaydes was out, and like as much as he was, and that even as you said, for all he knew, Blaydes could have sat up like the Undertaker and just started going for single legs and eating punches. Like, you don't know.
Listen, some guys are, they'll get the one punch and they know it and they're done. But listen, it's a complicated place in the octagon. There's a lot of thoughts running through your head, a lot of crazy adrenaline, and it's a fight. It's a fight, and ultimately, you get what you pay for.
Yeah,
that's a fight right there. That was as brutal as a fight gets.
Yeah, let's talk about Derrick Lewis though. Let's talk about the finish was a finish, but overall the fight was a very Derrick Lewis fight. I mean, like when you look at the Reddit comments, everyone's like, he did it again. How did he do it again? Like every time he's losing, he's getting outworked, he's getting outskilled, he's getting beaten everywhere. But he even said himself, he wasn't looking for the 1-2. He wasn't looking for anything. He was looking for 2 shots, the jumping knee or the uppercut. He's just waiting for Blaydes to shoot, and when he does, if he catches that uppercut, it's over. And that's what happened.
Exactly. It was very, very ill thought of by Blaydes to shoot for that takedown. That was very we all were waiting for Blaydes to shoot that takedown because especially his narrative going into this was like, I know I'm gonna wrestle because that's what I'm good at, and I'm gonna beat him down. Even though he was highly successful on the feet, which is really the ironic part of it. Without that takedown attempt, he might have continued to be very successful on the feet because he was hurting Lewis. I mean, shit, Lewis doubled his significant strikes in his finishing. Those 2 extra shots on the ground, that shit doubled his significant strikes. He went from 3 to 6. It's unbelievable. But I wonder what this means really for Curtis Blaydes. Like, that was a move that the elite of the elite would not have taken that takedown.
Sure.
I don't think.
I'm not sure. I think look, and this is one of those, the fight game, right? And you go for takedowns, and sometimes when you go for takedowns, you time it great. And he thought he timed it great. And Blaydes, Lewis was going for the uppercut a lot. I think that could have happened to everyone and anyone. But what I think about with this fight, I mean, I was going into this and I was like, this is such a weird position for Curtis Blaydes. I mean, when you look at the landscape of the division, you have obviously Ngannou against Stipe is happening in a month or so. But after that, Blaydes still doesn't get the next title shot because John Jones gets the next title shot. And then Blaydes, now he has to win another fight. But not only that, if Ngannou comes out on top after the Stipe and Jones fights, Ngannou's beaten Blaydes twice already. We're going to give him a third shot. So Blaydes is in this the UFC was in a really weird position. What do you do with this guy? It's almost a good thing for everyone but Curtis Blaydes that he did get knocked out, and we didn't remove that kind of hurdle from the heavyweight division. But this guy, every time he seems almost like Bisping, actually, kind of like another Bisping comparison. Every time he's just about to get that title shot, something happens, just like in the Ngannou 2 fight.
There's heavyweight's a really weird place. And being able to see a fight like this one, or just like some of the lower level heavyweight fights we see, you get to see really that Stipe and DC, they were just at a different level of skill from your average heavyweight and from your average elite heavyweight. They are some of the most well-rounded, but not just extremely high skilled in their well-roundedness fighters that you can possibly have in those divisions. And you see the results of that in for example, going back a fight like Stipe and Gane. That fuck you power at heavyweight, sure, it does constitute a skill in a sense. If a guy can't, if a guy can't even possibly risk shooting a takedown on you because you can fucking thunderous uppercut them into Valhalla or some shit, that's a skill. That's I'd call that a skill at that level. But listen, technique is usually going to give you the advantage over somebody with a little more sloppy technique. And when you both come in with that same kind of level of intense power. I don't know. Listen, there's a reason I think why DC was kind of hesitant to call out Stipe, and yes, it partially has to do with Jones holding up the division a bit, but he kind of said it himself. He doesn't think he can win that fight. I'm not surprised. I don't think he can win that fight. Do you think that if Lewis gets a shot?
Lewis, you're saying Lewis?
Yeah, Lewis. Yeah.
Lewis was calling out Stipe. No. Lewis
he was doing it very haphazardly. He also said in his post-fight interview, like, "Shit, I can't get the fight with Steve. Like, I'm not getting that fight." Which could be a little bit because you got Ngannou and then you've got Jones. But I think that Lewis got a big shot against DC and he got ragdolled. He got made to look like a bit of an amateur in that one. I think that he knows he's not beating Stipe.
Wait. Okay, no. Now I think you're going a little bit far because, like, look, I agree. He first of all, I think he did kind of call out Stipe. I don't think he was as not nonchalant. I think he actually said, "I want to fight Stipe. I like those wrestlers." I think that's actually what he said.
That was I think in like a press conference. Like that wasn't like the I'm talking the post-fight interview.
No, that's what he said. I thought he's like, "Oh, give me Stipe. I like those wrestlers."
You see, he was very nonchalant when he was calling. He was like saying, like, I don't know about, like, I don't think I deserve that fight. Like, he was saying a lot of weird shit, like about not deserving fights and like.
Oh no, that was when they like, oh, you want to do the main event? You want to do Overeem in the main event? He's like, no, I don't deserve it. What do you mean? I know I deserve it. I don't want to fight 5 rounds though. That's what he said.
Okay, maybe I missed that.
He was like, he was trying to negotiate his way out of 5 rounds. That's why he said, I don't deserve a main event. It was like a joke.
Okay, maybe I missed that.
But what I think is really interesting about the heavyweight division, I think you're touching on a really interesting point there about this whole power. I actually look at it a bit differently. Yes, everyone has power, and I think that's actually a bit of the equalizer. I think it actually is what makes the skill actually a bit less important. So when you're looking at,
of course,
when you look at the heavyweight division, Stipe has the record for the most title defenses in a row out of anyone in the heavyweight division, which is 3. 3, that's it. That doesn't seem like that many because it's not that many. You need to win 4 fights in a row, the title fight, and defend 3 times to do that. No one has ever done that until Stipe did that. That blows my mind. Whereas in every other division, I'm sure the title is being defended way more times than that. But the reason is, even if you're way better than someone else, we saw it in this Curtis Blaydes against Derrick Lewis fight. Curtis Blaydes is clearly a better fighter than Lewis. I don't think anyone really thinks that Lewis is more skilled than Curtis Blaydes. But it doesn't matter because if you get lucky with that one shot, everyone gets hit in every division. Every champion gets hit.
I would be remiss to call it luck. That was not luck.
Okay, it's not luck, fine, but everyone gets hit no matter what. Even if you are the best, even if you are Kamaru Usman, you get hit by some shots. Even if you're if you're Khabib got hit by some shots by Gaethje. But when everyone has heavyweight power, that one shot can put you out and end your night, and you can't. That's the reason you just don't see this thing defended that many times, because eventually you will get hit and you will get hit hard, and it's just inevitable. You can't not. So I think it's one of those weird scenarios, I think, in heavyweight, where because of that, you're always only 2 to 3 fights away from a title shot, because no one's ever able to put down a big streak together. But you're also never safe, even if you're better than everyone else.
Yeah, you've always got to be extraordinarily careful. I mean, what all that Derrick Lewis has to come to the table with is impeccable timing and precision
and speed. His speed is crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. Derrick Lewis is more skilled than you'd think, but less skilled than his record would lead you to believe. Like he's
the best worst fighter in the UFC.
Somewhere around that. But he makes it work.
In fact, can you actually
work for him? He's
a question. Can you think of a single fighter who has exceeded their skill potential more than Derrick Lewis?
Fighter that's exceeded their fucking skill potential more than Derrick Lewis.
Whose positioning and success is so much higher than where you would actually rank them as a fighter. Like, how good is Derrick Lewis versus how successful has he been?
I'd say CM Punk belonged in a white belt fucking karate dojo, and he managed to get onto the biggest stage.
He didn't have success
in the fighting world. So
success in the UFC, fine. Who has had more success in the UFC relative to their what you would think their potential was?
I'm having a difficult time thinking of a total career. I mean, there's the classic, what is it? Gabriel Gonzaga knocks out Crow Cop with the fucking with Crow Cop's classic kick.
Anthony Hernandez chokes out Adolfo Vieira.
You know, there's it doesn't happen too often, but
people win fights, but like to consistently do it in the way that Derrick Lewis has is so rare. Like, I guess actually this the fact that you can't think of anyone kind of proves the point, really, right?
Yeah,
like, I mean, no one overperforms the level of Derrick Lewis.
Yeah, exactly. But at what point do you stop saying this man is just like overperforming for his skill, and you just accept it and say this is one of the like a top 10 best heavyweight of all time?
All time.
He tied the record for most knockouts in UFC history.
Yeah,
I believe
tied with
last night. So he's on a 4-fight tear right now.
That's crazy to me, right?
Yeah, it's fucking nuts. When I looked at his record, I thought
like what?
He was more spotty recently, but no, he really is on that.
I mean, one of those with TV. Does it count?
What was his last loss? Was his last loss the JDS fight?
His last loss might have been JDS. Maybe it was.
That was a while ago. Lewis is. I don't know. I would like to see some kind of like a full-scale total analysis of his training regimen, of his style, because like I feel like the simple answer is true. It's not as crazy as, I want to think. He's just big, strong, powerful, and has speed and precision. But shit, he makes it work consistently. He makes it work consistently. And like you said, that is something that is so hard to do in that division. So is it just his absolutely tremendous physical gifts? Is he just able to, take shots and, wait it out? Like, I want to know what goes through Derrick Lewis's head in terms of his approach to fighting. Like, what is he like? Is he really just sitting there thinking, fuck it, I'll let myself get beaten up, I'll land one shot and it's done?
I think he's a story of true commitment to the game plan. I think he really understands, hey, this is my chance to win. I'm not going to out-wrestle. I'm not going to go and outbox Curtis Blaydes, because if I try to do that, he's going to take me down eventually. All I'm going to do, I know he's going to shoot. We have 25 minutes. He's going to shoot at least twice. Just keep on waiting for that one shot. That's my best chance to win. And he commits to it. And he fully, and I guess two other things, because he commits to it, he didn't really get gassed out, right? He wasn't working too hard through the fight, which kind of helped him.
No footwork on that man. He's not expending any energy on that. He's a rock.
Right. Secondly, his power carries later into the fight. I mean, that was the second round, fine, but he's done this in the third round and at the end of 15 minutes against Volkov, right? He's able.
He did it after getting his shit rocked by Volkov multiple times.
Exactly. So his power translates, and he carries late into the fight, but he commits to the game plan. He has a full mental commitment. He just waits for that shot, and he threw that uppercut 10 times. I'm actually thinking maybe I'll make a video just showing all the times he wound up and set up that uppercut, and it didn't land before eventually it did, because I saw that he was really going for it a lot. To be honest, I didn't expect it to hit. I didn't expect it I didn't expect the timing to happen like that, but it did.
Yeah, it was clearly that shot was clearly well drilled. He knew when he goes in for that takedown. That's like kind of like how Masvidal drilled that flying knee. It's clearly Lewis has a limited skill set, but what he can do and what he does, he works hard, he drills it hard, and he makes sure, like you said, he sticks to that meat and potatoes game plan of just, I'm going to club you over the head when I have my shot, and that's going to be it for you.
Yep. Let's move on to what's next for him, right? I mean, I think there's really two options here, right? He's calling Overeem out, and he's like, no, like every time they're like, oh, Overeem might be done, he's like, no, Overeem, you still got it, look in my eyes, you're good, bro, you got it, you still got it. He was saying that on a press conference. It was quite funny. He's saying, oh yeah, mate, he tried to duck me a couple times, but he got hit a lot recently. Maybe he passes concussion protocol, he'll forget why he doesn't want to fight me, or forget what just happened here, he'll fight me. I think it is a great option. I think it's a great just for the fans. I can't tell me someone who wouldn't want to see Overeem Lewis before Overeem retires.
Yeah.
However,
it's tough for me to say as an Overeem fan that I'd want to see that fight, though.
But as a I for the division, what I think makes the most sense if we're going to do setting up the next title shot, it's got to be the winner of next week's Ciryl Gane against Rozenstruik fight. And the reason being, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, we have, of course, Ngannou Stipe in about a month time, and then Jones will probably fight for the heavyweight title. Assuming everything goes well and no one gets injured too much in April.
Jones seems to be on some weird shit now where he's tweeting about like, oh, maybe I'll do it if the money's right. You know, like he seems like he's really, who knows what he's going to fucking do now.
Well, let's assume for a second that Jones will be fighting. And even if Jones isn't fighting, regardless, this is going to happen probably September. The heavyweight belt probably won't be on the line until either probably until next winter, either the late fall, maybe December, end of the year kind of card. Mm-hmm. We need at least one more fight. Even if Ciryl Gane or Rozenstruik wins next week, they still need another fight to set them up. There's still another 8 to 10 months easily before the fight actually happens. So Lewis versus the winner of next week's fight makes perfect sense.
How do you feel about moving?
No one else makes sense, right? No one else is near the title shot. Yeah.
How do you feel about a rematch of between Volkov and Lewis?
Volkov and Lewis? Volkov isn't there either. Volkov just lost to Blaydes.
Volkov's moving up. He's just coming off of a win.
He is, but right before that, he lost to Curtis Blaydes. He lost to Blaydes in Blaydes' last fight was a win over Volkov, and that was like 3 or 4 months ago. So Volkov is
but I don't know, man. Volkov in his last 2 showings looks like first off, you have the history of his fight with Lewis. That's a rematch that they do need to run back because of just how anomalous that loss was for Volkov. But also, Volkov looks like a whole other beast right now. He looks like he has gotten like a second career wind, and he is like reaching his full potential.
But does he
I don't know. Maybe
Blaydes?
in terms of the numbers, it does. But in terms of that's a fight that I want to see.
It's a fight that I agree.
I want, and I think it makes sense in terms of like just 2 highly skilled guys. You know, rematch. I don't know. I think the narrative
doesn't make sense in the division
there.
But look, first of all, so
what's Volkov ranked at right now?
No, hold up. What's going on recently? Volkov is coming off 1 win. Derrick Lewis is on a 4-fight winning streak. It makes no sense because winner of Gane versus Rozenstruik is way more deserving of a title shot than Volkov right now, right?
I don't know, man. Volkov's number 5. Lewis is number 4. I mean, like, listen, in terms of like who's.
But Volkov has 1 win. Derrick Lewis is 4, and again, next week's winner, Gane versus
who do you
Rozenstruik,
want to
rank in the top 3?
Who do you want to give to Volkov right now? Who's number 5?
Okay, that could be a good question. Who did you just fight?
I don't think it could be a good question. I think it is a good question.
No, he just fought Overeem, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, let's look at the rankings. I say
I don't know how you can get all my shit about this when fucking Lewis is out here calling out Overeem. I think this is.
I don't think that makes sense. There. No, I don't think that the Overeem fight makes sense. I don't think that Volkov makes sense. I think the only thing that makes sense for the heavyweight division is to set up the winner of this week against the winner of next week, and the winner of that gets a title shot against whoever the champion is. That makes it's so like Lewis is 1 fight away from the title shot. The winner of Rozenstruik versus Gane is 1 fight away from a title shot. It's just it's there. It's right there.
Lewis could fight. Lewis, if Jones is out of the mix, Lewis gets the title shot as far as I'm concerned.
If Gane knocks out Rozenstruik next week, Gane will get the title shot over Lewis, and I think he deserves it over Lewis too.
Yeah, no. Gane, absolutely. Gane is the future champion as far as I'm concerned.
This is what I'm saying, man. Lewis against Gane. Let's do it. If he gets by Rozenstruik, that is. But I want to see this happen. I think that's the fight to make. I think that's a fight that will happen, if I'm being honest, assuming Gane wins next week.
Mm-hmm. I'm just waiting for the day that we get Gane and our boy Aspinall, who we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Yes, actually, you know what? Let's move on to our co-main. I think we've really spoken our way through this.
Dug this into the ground.
I think
Mortal Kombat uppercuts.
And that's not
ultimate base for UFC.
And let's not worry about Blaydes right now. Blaydes should take at least half a year off easily, and we'll see what the division is like when he comes back.
I need to follow him on Instagram immediately to see the extent of his injuries.
All right, our co-main event: Caitlin Vieira against Yana Kunitskaya. That was a bit of a weird fight. The first round was very clearly, I believe. I actually don't remember who won each of the first two rounds, but I remember very, very clearly the first two rounds went one apiece to Vieira and Kunitskaya. It was the third round that was really interesting because for the majority of that third round, Caitlin Vieira had Yana Kunitskaya's back or had her in control, had control over her overall. However, throughout all of that, while Vieira was fighting for position, fighting the hands, trying to go for chokes, Kunitskaya was just landing little bird strikes. Even if it was even Vieira had Kunitskaya's back. She was on her own back on the ground with Kunitskaya over her on her stomach. And Kunitskaya was just hitting behind her own head. Vieira wasn't doing anything. And in the last 10 seconds of that round, Kunitskaya actually got turned over, got on top of Vieira, ended the round with about 10 seconds of vicious ground and pound, and stole the fight. Honestly, it was quite impressive.
It was a great example of, listen, when you're gonna take position, when you're gonna take control, you got to do something with it. I mean, I know it's a sport and a fight, so there's sanctioned rules and there's points you earn for for control and whatnot.
But there isn't points for control.
It's a fight. Isn't there not? I thought
no. So here's the thing, Noah.
So isn't it like strikes are worth more, and then control is really low?
So the way it works when they don't present it very, the way they present it is a bit misleading. They say it's effective like damage essentially. Number 1 is damage. Number 2 is octagon control. Number 3 is aggression. Right?
Yeah.
However, those 3, it's not like we weigh each of those and we do a combination of those 3. What it actually the way it works is that damage is number 1, and you forget everything else. Nothing matters at all except just damage.
Well, yeah,
if damage is tied, absolutely, and there's zero way to make any differentiation between the damage, then you go to number 2.
The splitting difference, right?
So you don't consider octagon control in any way unless damage is even, and that's really only possible if nobody gets any strikes off. And so what ends up happening when you look at this takedown, the way I look at it, it's like pushing someone back. If you see a counter striker who's always backing up because the other guy's always moving forward, but the counter striker is the only one landing punches, you're right. The bigger guy who's walking forward and marching him down might be controlling the octagon, might be controlling the position, but he's not getting any damage off. He's the one getting hurt.
Yeah,
Same thing here.
A fight's a fight. You need to, you can't just try and coast by. You've got to give it to him, and you can't just lie down on top of the person and because
that's like pushing them back. But pushing them back, that isn't what gets you the points. It's hitting them while they're pushed back.
Yeah, exactly.
And that wasn't done here.
That's exactly what we saw.
Now, sorry, there is one other differentiator. It says effective striking and grappling. It doesn't actually say damage. And that's the one part that is up to interpretation. What constitutes effective grappling? Effective striking is very simple. Did you hurt them? Did you hit them a lot? And did they get hurt from that strike? But if you go for a submission attempt and you almost get it, but they manage to not quite tap, how effective is that? If they didn't tap, how much is that really worth? If the guy punched you twice and you almost got a choke, you didn't actually do any consistent damage, but you almost got the choke. So that's where it really becomes a little bit more.
I mean, hell, in that scenario, you might even argue that you've kind of impeded yourself more by expending the energy for a lack of success. And ultimately, at the end of the day, as we've known from many interviews with different personalities in the sport, the judges are kind of playing their own game in there. You've got judges who will say, oh, well, if the wrestler gets a takedown, I don't really give much stock to that because, of course, but if the boxer gets the takedown, then, that shows something, especially if they get it against the wrestler. People are going in there with, sorry?
I don't think that
it's not about it not being true. It's irrelevant. It's about the judges. If it takes a single judge to look at it like that. I've heard, I can't remember who it was, but I remember someone specific. That was a specific example that somebody, God, this is a long time ago. I can't remember, some interview mentioned about, but the judges are very, like, it's very strange the way that the judging goes. And, at the end of the day, you're dealing with a group of people who have their own perspective on the fight. Funny, actually, I didn't realize this. I heard this the other day. The judges don't all sit together at like a judge's table.
Correct. They shouldn't.
They're all dispersed around the octagon in different places. So they are seeing different angles of things, so they aren't all getting like the same full show of what's happening. You know, your
but no one gets a full show. No one can get a full show, no matter what angle you're on. So it's better that they're at least dispersed.
Yeah, it's better that we cover our bases. But at the end of the day, the judges, you know, while we want them to maintain this strict kind of rigid guideline, and oftentimes they do. I'm sure it's gotten better in recent years, especially. But from what I understand, from what I've heard, there is a problem with subjectivity among the judges, and in a sport like this,
well, there has to be. There's always subject.
Of course there has to be
subjective,
but subjectivity to the level where it's like, if the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter gets like a big striking combo, they get more points in my book than if the boxer does it.
I don't think that exists. I think the problem is
it does exist. There's no debate here. I will find you what this interview that I heard where they were talking about it.
With who? Who's the interview with?
I've told you 3 times. I don't remember. It's
if you're asking a fighter and the fighter's like, oh man, I think judges do this.
I don't believe this was a fight. I don't
have
believe it was a fighter.
Judge himself.
It was someone like a Joe Rogan or something.
Okay, then still it doesn't matter. It has to be the actual judge that says this is what we think. If someone else is speculating, we think this.
It wasn't speculation. This is a person who said they were talking to a judge. They said this is a conversation they had with a judge, Roie.
Okay, well that doesn't make any sense.
I will find the audio.
Okay,
find the audio.
I think really the problem is not the judging as much as it is the rule set itself. I think that we have many cases. I think a good example is Volkanovski and Holloway too, where people can look at the exact same round, the top mind in the sport. I'm saying we can look at Firas Zahabi's opinion beside Trevor Whitman's opinion, and they can disagree over who won that round, and they can both be correct. You can have the same round, have 2 different people give very good arguments as to who should win that round, and neither of them are wrong because the rules are subjective. And this is a sport where it's fighting, right? You have to have a lot of leeway because the whole point of the sport is that you can do whatever you want. And so if it's too rigid of a rule set, you take away that creativity. You need this ability to be flexible. However, at the same time, it leaves it open to these rounds not having a guaranteed winner. When you have hockey, it's the puck crossed the line or it did not. Is it a goal or it isn't? It's very clear who won.
There's no subjectivity. The rules aren't so rigid in the UFC.
But they can't be, and that's by design. And
there's
always a give and take
to happen.
The benefit of having them not too rigid is that you allow for the creativity that we need in fighting, that makes it so exciting. However, that will always make it so that the judging cannot be an exact science, and you will have 2 very equally competent judges, perfectly competent judges, in fact, who can have opposite conclusions.
I don't know if I'd call all the judges perfect.
I didn't say we have. I said you can have 2 perfectly competent. We don't have. If you have a case where you have 2 perfectly competent judges, they can still reach opposite conclusions, and that's my point. That means that the rules are what's wrong, or what are at fault, not the judges themselves. Yeah. In addition, we also have potentially some issues with judging.
Yeah, it's the marriage of the 2. It's a fight. It's a fight. It's not everything's gonna be pretty in a fight.
Anyway, Derrick Minner versus Charles Rosa was another great fight.
Rosa came in there looking like your classic Chad. He's got like the fucking like diamond shaped chin. He looked angry. He looked like he was like about to fucking steal my lunch money. And then he got made to look like a little bitch for the rest of the fight. And it was very entertaining to watch that because I was really picturing like the bullies trying to steal the other guy's lunch money, and then he comes in and fucking kicks the shit out of him. That's kind of how I interpreted this fight. It was a good brawler. I mean, fucking Minner was very, very successful on the ground from what I can recall. He had some good ground and pound in there. It
reminded me of the Bryce Mitchell Charles Rosa fight. Rosa seems to have a real bad time with those head and arm triangles into the back taking. There for that whole, I don't know if you remember the Mitchell fight. The whole fight, Mitchell was going into head and arm choke, into the twister, into the back take, into the twister, into the head and arm choke, just back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And the same kind of thing happened here. Rosa doesn't seem to know how to defend. He gives up his back too easily. He gives up the head and arm choke really easily, and Minner was taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
Not
Couldn't
too much
have said it better myself.
Honestly, to say about it, but
it was a real one-sided rough beating basically the entire time for Rosa. What else is there to really say? Minner looked great. I'm very excited to see him to see who he fights next. Rosa, what's his record in the UFC right now? Because I feel like
I mean, it's two losses in a row. That doesn't necessarily mean that much.
Doesn't mean anything really. I mean, he thought that's tough competition there.
Right? He lost to Bryce Mitchell, but he beat Kevin Aguilar before that. He beat Manny Bermudez before that. He lost to Shane Burgos before that. I mean, the guy he beat Kyle Bochniak. So he beats the guy. He beats some guys. He loses some guys. He's the kind of guy. He's like a 50-50 prelim fighter.
Right. How old is he?
He is 34. So yeah, he probably they'll probably keep him in for one more fight. If he loses it, he's out. But he's the kind of guy who he's right around that like 50% mark in the UFC. Like I'd say half the guys in the division are better than him, half the guys are worse than him. He's a pretty average UFC fighter.
Yeah. But I mean, we've seen people get cut with better records lately. So nobody's safe right now. That really adds a whole extra level of stakes to these fights, is that the fact that nobody's safe. I mean, you could get cut right after losing a fight at this point in time. So
depending on who it is,
you've got to be really at the top of your game right now. And maybe even if they aren't necessarily going to cut them, that that fear is in these fighters' minds right now. I mean, even Lewis before this fight was saying like he felt like he was fighting for his contract, fighting for his career this fight, because things were, I think, this was the last fight of his contract, correct?
For who? Sorry?
For Lewis?
Yeah, he was saying it was the last fight,
so,
but he also said he wants to stay in the UFC.
Yeah, but it shows like there's a fear going around right now that they could just take your career away at a moment's notice if you underperform. I think there's absolutely that fear for fighters right now.
Yes, but not with Lewis. I think it's always a fear. It's always been a fear. It always will be a fear. It's kind of how the UFC works. It is how it is. But I don't think that Lewis at any point thought he was getting cut. I think it's very clear after 25 fights in the UFC and being a top 5 heavyweight and being as popular as he is, getting main events, there was no chance that Derrick Lewis was getting cut with a loss here.
No, but I mean, I'm saying to make the point that Lewis himself was saying before this fight that he felt he was fighting for his contract, fighting for his career, because they're cutting people right now. They're cutting people left, right, and center.
Cutting. It was more about basically how much money am I going to get on my next contract. If I end off a contract with a win, I get a lot more. I think it's really that, to be honest. That's how but maybe you might be right, but that's how I kind of look at it.
Right, well,
he's fighting for the 300K instead of 250.
Fighters are fucking nervous right now, man. They're cutting people. That's undeniable. We see it happening. We see them releasing lists of fighters like every week. I'm seeing 9-10 fighters getting released.
Always been like that.
It's you're telling me it's not ramping up right now? You're telling me that they're not making extra efforts to trim the fat right now?
Yeah, I think they did. I think
we're going to just have to agree to disagree on that.
I think they did trim the fat. They said they were going to release 60 fighters. They released a ton of fighters. I think they're basically just about back to normal.
Yeah, they released like a very large amount of fighters, and people are worried.
And now they're back to normal. Now they're back to normal, because what they were saying basically, what happened is that they didn't release anyone for the first half of 2020 because they wanted to keep everyone on books so that they had as many fighters ready to fight on 1 week notice as they could. And then once they kind of got shit back to normal, now they're like, all right, now we can start releasing people again. And because we haven't released people in a year, now we got to essentially make up for that year. And I think they've made up for that year. Now they're going back to their normal kind of schedule, is my understanding. It's kind of what I've heard from Dana, is that they always release people. That's always something that they've done all the time. It's just that they had to ramp it up to compensate for when they didn't for a while.
But so your contention is
And
that
now they're
they are
back.
done with their big string of releases.
That's my
I
understanding.
mean,
That
I
their
hope.
big string is, and
I guess I hope you're right. I
but
haven't
again,
heard
you're still going
anything
to hear
myself
releases.
that indicates that.
But you're still going to
But
hear about releases because in the UFC, every single week they release 2 or 3 people. That's just how it happened, how it works. They release like 2 or 3 people a week. They sign 2 or 3 people a week. 2 or 3 people a week. Every time they sign someone, that's someone else whose job is being lost. Dana likes to keep the roster at a pretty consistent number. I think I forget what the number was he mentioned. It was something like 500 fighters, and it got up to 600 during the pandemic because he signed so many people through like Contender Series and whatever, and he just didn't cut anybody. So he has had to like cut like 60 guys to bring it back down. And now that he has that kind of consistent level, as we see guys making their debut, just keep in mind every single time you see a debut, someone's getting cut. Every single time. It's fucked. It's a fucked way to think about it, but like, oh, you're in. Who's out?
yeah, you got to be careful up there. You don't want to fuck up in there. You don't want to look like a bum. You're out. There's a big threat right now.
That's how the fight game works, right? It's a constant cycle, a constant turnover, constant in and out, and it's just a machine.
Yep.
Takes in young blood, churns out CTE. CTE takes in young blood, turns out CTE and cash.
Yeah, I try not to think about the CTE element of it, especially after last night's knockout. Shit makes me uncomfortable. But guy like Rosa, after 2 losses, going 0-2 in the UFC, getting dominated like that. I don't know how the future bodes for him in the organization personally.
We'll find out.
If you're right and they're done with their big string of cuts, they'll probably give him another one. He's probably fine. But
even if they're done, they still might be done with him.
If we get a list of another 9-10 fighters next week that are getting cut, I'm not surprised if he's on the list.
Yeah. Speaking of future though, Tom Aspinall, man, our Liverpool man, taking on Andre Arlovski, and with a beautiful.
I was pumped to see that fight, and it delivered.
And he's got amazing hand speed. You saw that flurry in that first round was crazy against Aspinall. Against Arlovski. And then, of course, as soon as he took Arlovski down, Arlovski turned around for a second, and he was choked out.
Yeah, and he was pissed. He was pissed
because he knew he didn't expect it. He's like, "Oh, I'll just get up," and then all of a sudden he's unconscious, or not unconscious, but he's in a choke, and it's over.
Yep, it's a scenario where you're with it enough and awake enough to recognize the fuck up that you made before getting to the hospital. So we got to see live in action. I'm sure, like, I don't fucking train in any shit like that, but I'm sure, with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when somebody gets the better of you, I'm sure it's an extremely frustrating experience. More so, I'd say, probably more so than getting knocked out, because in that scenario, it's like I have all these tools that I've drilled and trained that can specifically counter, what you're trying to manipulate on me right now, and I couldn't. I couldn't engage that. And,
I don't think it's actually to counter. I think it's the other. I think it's actually he was pissed off because he knew he fucked up. It wasn't that he couldn't counter it. It's that he just gave up his neck. He's like, it was a quick mental lapse of judgment where he just left his chin up, gave up his neck. He's like, that was so stupid. I could have easily not made that dumb mistake and just given him the win. I just gave it to him.
Mm-hmm. And they just, I'm sure that this guy, I'm sure, Arlovski's got a fucking hell of a career. This guy's drilled jiu-jitsu probably time and time again in the gym. He's been choked out. He's choked people out. He's escaped from chokes before. This was just so quick and clean. Like, first off, he pounced on him faster than like any other heavyweight would have. I mean, that Tom Aspinall can move. He can move very, very fast. And he's got that power that just makes him so dangerous. And then we get to see this aspect of his game. I mean, we haven't seen him in any long drawn out ground wars from what I can recall, but we saw, as soon as the opportunity presented itself, he was in there with that slick, tight choke. No doubt about it that he had him there. So Aspinall, God, I really want to know where he goes from here, who he fights. If you want to give how big of a jump do you give him in competition? Do you think this breaks him into a fight with a top 15 fighter?
Top 15, yes. It's heavyweight, right? It's not hard to get a heavyweight top 15. If you go on a 3-fight winning streak, in the heavyweight division, you get a top 15 fighter, no questions asked. This isn't 155 where you have these guys who are theoretically ranked like 40 and can murder anybody on the street. So like I mean, look at this top 10. I mean, you can give him a guy like an Augustus Sakai, Shamil Abdurakhimov. You can give him a Walt Harris. You can give him a JDS if JDS is still fighting.
Don't feed him JDS, or don't feed JDS to him. JDS is, I don't want to see him in there for a while.
Right, you can give him a Marcin Tybura, Blagoy Ivanov, these kind of guys who are good. They're grimy, also have some ground game, can pull them down and potentially scare them there. That kind of thing I think could be good.
I think I'm looking now, and I don't know. I mean, he's coming off of 2 losses, but I don't know if I might not mind putting him up against a Walt Harris. See how he deals with like someone with significant power who can like
and explosiveness and speed.
Yeah, very heavy. Yeah, someone who can, you know, maybe not match him in terms of the speed, but who can really explode with that power. And you know, see how he responds to someone like that. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Or Chris Dawkins, who had a great win over Alexei Oleinik. Who, by the way, Oleinik was ranked number 10 coming into this, so I'm assuming Dawkins will take that number 10.
Dawkins. That would be a great boxing match.
Right, Dawkins versus Aspinall is a great fight. That. And I think Dawkins even said, "Hey, there's another heavyweight fight on this card. There's 2 other heavyweight fights in this card. I don't think I'm going to get the winner of Blaydes versus Lewis because that's pretty high up. But I'm down for the winner of Aspinall versus Arlovsky. Aspinall won. I think that's a great fight to put together.
Yeah, I think that makes all the sense in the world. Both those guys deserve to be in the top 15. It's really great to see fighters like that get into heavyweight. The thing is, I mean, we need to wait and see them take on these top 15 guys.
Tom Aspinall versus DC. Let's do it. Okay.
All right, Roie. Roie with the jokes, everyone.
You're on a 2-fight losing streak, bro.
It only makes perfect sense. I'm really glad to see this new kind of life being going into the heavyweight division. But like I said, we need to see them take on this serious tough competition, because I mean, look at a guy like Blaydes, who is probably one of the most technically skilled guys in the division, but can't stand up to that fucking crazy power. Can't find a way he
can. No one can stand up to that power. He just got caught.
No, but like, let's say, but that's what separates, the men from the boys in that division. A guy like Stipe was able to avoid that fuck you power and was able to subvert it. He didn't. It didn't stop him.
DC knocked him out. My point is that everyone gets caught.
I'm talking specifically in the Ngannou fight, where there's a little more of a fuck you power element, more of a pure fuck you power element versus still. DC is another mythical elite fighter that is above the level of everyone else other than like the Stipe in the division. If you get Curtis Blaydes, highly skilled, he got beaten by power. He could not translate those skills into a way that he could overcome the power and find ways to work around it.
If that fight happened 10 times, how many times do you think that fight actually ends the way it did last night?
The way
out of 10.
Again, well, because the thing, if
I say 3. I say 3 out of 10 times it ends like that. 7 out of 10 times Blaydes wins that fight.
If Blaydes didn't shoot for that takedown and stayed on the feet, I think he would have hurt. I think it was very close to really hurting Lewis with some of those shots.
One shot was mistimed. If he hadn't timed it any other time, my point is just that
it was a bad shot, Roie. It was a bad takedown attempt. It was a straight up bad attempt. He should not have gone for it. Fucking Lewis was telegraphing that uppercut a mile away. He should have known.
I know. It's just like, I don't think you can make such a blanket statement about Blaydes not being at that level. I think everyone has these losses, that the heavyweight division is just so easy to get caught, and when you do, it's just so devastating. I don't like having such a large statement, because I think everyone just gets caught in this division. And that's, again, why you only have a title defense record of 3 in a row, because it's just so hard. It's so easy to get caught.
I mean, when you have multiple title defenses in itself is a very difficult thing to do. So that's like more of like a general thing. And in heavyweight, it is especially, even 3 defenses there is extremely impressive. But to tell me that there's an elite level at heavyweight, and very few people, like such a small, there's already like 50 heavyweights in the UFC in total. Like no, it's not
like 30, if that.
Like there's a tiny, and only like 1 or 2 of them really at any given point in time are actually that high super elite level. Curtis Blaydes, he's 30. I
think he's edging on that. I really think he's edging on that elite level.
He can get there. But he's not there yet. He needs to, more ability more time to put it together. So that's why I'm glad we're getting some of these new young guys that seem so much potential in Aspinall, so much potential in Dawkins. And thing is, we need to see them take on these high level guys who, can, and see if they can subvert their power and, what limited but, powerful skills that they have. And if they can do that, then they can take on the heavyweights who have the massive power and the massive skill, who really right now we're really just seeing Stipe at that elite level. So,
and maybe Ngannou, we'll see.
Maybe Ngannou, we don't know yet. We don't know where he's at because he keeps fucking obliterating people off the face of the earth in 30 seconds flat. But I don't see anyone being able to dethrone Stipe except for Ngannou, and Ngannou's not going to skill his way there.
That
New blood is necessary. If Ngannou is out of the picture with his anomalous power, in order to take down Stipe, we need to see new blood. These guys are really, really interesting.
I know I might be speaking some real I might be swearing. This might hurt too many MMA fans to hear, and I might be ruffling some feathers here. But how good do you actually think, not that DC is in general, but that DC was in those last 2 Stipe fights? And hear me out here. He said himself, when he got that surgery after that Blaydes fight, after that Derrick Lewis fight, when he fucked his back up in that fight and had to get surgery on it, he said he was never anywhere near that level he was beforehand. Mm-hmm. I almost think that Stipe, yes, he's a legend. Yes, he's elite, but we don't actually know if he's still elite. He, in my opinion, hasn't really had a real elite fighter. I don't know if DC was that elite fighter after that back surgery. And if he wasn't, we haven't actually seen Stipe fight at a really high level really since that first Ngannou fight, right? Since then, he had that DC knockout, get knocked out by DC, and then 2 fights against a kind of an old weathered DC, and it's been now 3 or 4 years. Like, I don't know how good Stipe still is.
I think it's fair to say we don't know. That might even be like, it makes it sound like you're erring on the side of he is less than we would like to think. That's where I feel like you are standing.
I'm not saying that he's not good. I think everyone is saying he's insane elite. And I think people are just ignoring the fact that, hey, he's old. He hasn't really fought anyone that's young and up and like.
How old is he?
36, 37.
That's in heavyweight years. He's a kid. He's a kid in heavyweight. Okay,
I'm just saying, when's the last time we saw Stipe fight someone who was young, fast, explosive? And that's like, when's the last time we saw that? Ngannou won. No.
That was in 2018. I mean, that's not that long ago. Like, man, that's not that long ago.
But he's taken a couple. It's 3 years, but he's taken a couple knockouts.
He's taken 1 knockout,
but a couple wars too. I mean, he was rocked by Ngannou a lot, and then he was knocked out right after. I do think he's gonna be a bit chinny. I don't know. I'm leaning Ngannou on this Stipe rematch. About it. I just don't know if Stipe has what he used to have. I think he's gotten so much damage, and Ngannou's that guy that you can't be damaged against.
I don't know. I'll never rule out Stipe. I'll never rule him out. I'll never rule him out against Ngannou after he made Ngannou, because I mean, let's not forget, he made Ngannou look like, I don't have the words to describe what he made him look like. He made him look like a fucking baby in there. He totally neutralized him. Didn't he like like he fucking won he didn't lose like a single like moment of that fight. And Ngannou landed was able to land some shots. He was able to eat them, and then he was able to, wrestle the fuck out of him, and he was able to beat him on the feet. I think we haven't seen the evidence that would say that Stipe has declined, just the same as we haven't seen the evidence that Ngannou has gotten better.
I agree with that.
There's speculation that you can make there, but I mean, I don't.
There's so many questions.
To me, that narrative about Stipe is kind of coming out of nowhere. I don't want to call it baseless, because you're right, and it's such a volatile division, but I think that there were two guys in heavyweight that could stand up at that top elite level, and it was at any given time DC and Stipe. And I think if you put DC and Stipe in in 10 fights together, I think it will be, I don't know if it'll be 5-5, but it'll be like 6-4, something like it would be so close.
I almost think the DC wasn't DC when he fought. I almost don't.
No, DC was older. He was more sluggish. That's certain. I don't want you to think, like, if you look back and run those fights back, I mean, DC's still like an enormous presence, and he's still a powerful man, and he's still capable of winning fight. Like DC, like probably a year ago, 2 years ago, I still think he destroys the division.
You know what it is? Okay, remember, when you see a lot of these older fighters, this happens. I think we've seen it recently with Overeem, obviously a couple weeks ago. We saw it with JDS recently. These older guys that have taken a lot of damage, they seem that they're fighting. In fact, we actually saw this last night also with Eddie Wineland, where they're fighting. They look great while they're fighting. Mm-hmm. And then they get hit by a shot, and it's a good shot, but it's not a crazy shot. It's just like a normal good shot that usually the guy will like, oh, that was a good one. And with these older guys, they seem to be out of it for a second. They stumble, they're looking to the side. It just knocks them out of it for a second, and they just have a moment.
Their brains, getting a little wear and tear.
They just don't respond to the shots like they used to. Their body just freezes for a second. You just see it happen a bunch. And I think we started to see that with that DC fight in those last two fights. I think that's the point where your brain just shuts down from lighter shots that it usually wouldn't. And if we had DC at his prime, that wouldn't have hurt him. He wouldn't have been really hurt by that. He wouldn't have had to take that third round to recover against Stipe in the rematch.
DC in his prime is the best heavyweight in the world. DC in his prime is like is the best fighter.
No, second best heavyweight in the world.
You think that DC in his prime is
worse than Cain Velasquez?
Yeah, okay.
Prime Cain beats Prime DC, and Prime DC will say that any day. However,
fair.
Other than Prime Cain Velasquez, Prime DC is the best of all time.
I mean, God, those three, that's the heavyweight, that's the heavyweight elite. Those are like Stipe is fucking he's Emelianenko right now. Stipe is, the real fucking elite heavyweight.
Pedro Munoz. Exactly. Stipe, Emelianenko.
And Ngannou, it's just tough to write either of them off. I can't even speculate on that fight because of how goddamn excited I am for it. But I would not write Stipe off in any way, shape, or form. He is still sharp. I mean, if you saw the God, looking at those body shots that he landed against DC are like some of the cleanest body shots that I've seen in just that perfect like kind of like downwards kind of hook to the liver is some of the cleanest shots that I've seen in a very long time. So you can't write that man off. I think that you might be giving him not enough credit, but I do think there is some points to what you're saying. I don't think it's going to go exactly the way that it did the first time that they met up.
All I'm saying is that Stipe took his shots, and Stipe took Ngannou's biggest shots, and his chin held up. I just don't see it happening a second time, especially since everything has happened. And I just want to say very quickly, Stidor Emelianenko.
Stidor Emelianenko.
Yes,
that's very good, Roie. How long were you calculating?
I was waiting for your rant to end just so I could say it, to be honest.
You didn't listen to a goddamn word I said.
I never listened to a goddamn word you said.
You were just cooking that up in your head. Fair enough. But back to the point at hand. Tom Aspinall. That's my boy right there. He did a good job.
And Chris Dock is the guest. That was another good shout out to him. Anything else to mention from last night before we go into a little bit of news?
I don't know. How about our boy? How about our boy Phil Hawes coming out there like a fucking animal? He's looking so good.
He took some damage though. That third round though. That third round, he took some shots.
Oh yeah,
dude.
He did. Towards the end.
When's the last time you saw a majority decision?
I don't.
Do you know what a majority decision is? It's when the split decision is when the judges are split.
Yeah,
on
the
who
judges
won,
are
right?
split. Yeah.
Two guys think one guy won. One guy thinks a different one won.
That's
majority
one guy thinks
decision,
the other lost. The other two guys think one won, something like that.
So the majority decision is when two guys say he won and one guy says it was a tie. So the majority of judges said that they win, but they weren't split on who won. Just they didn't all say he did win. So the reason why was that third round was so dominant by Imavov, I don't fucking know. Nasruddin, that he actually got a 10-8 round in one of the judges' scorecards, making it a tie. And then
I don't know if I agree. Listen, he got battered towards the end for sure, and he was eating a lot of shots. But I don't know if that gets I wouldn't fight and scream about a 10-8 round, but I didn't see it that way personally. Although to be fair, at that point he was certainly coasting, trying not to get finished because he knew that he had those first two rounds and he had them handily. I guess there's an aspect of how hard do I have to beat this guy up before I finish him? Oh God, there's only 30 seconds left. There's no time to finish this. I'm tired. Let's just take the win and go home. But up until that point, he was a beast in there. He was cold-blooded. The man's legs look like fucking tree trunks. First off, so he's able to get so much power from this man just because of those enormous legs. How much leverage he can get when he's like shooting for a takedown, or he's someone who we kind of memed about him for a while, but he's become a very serious threat for the middleweight division. I'm fucking high on this guy, man. He's a joy to watch. He's violent. He's aggressive. I think that he was a little caught up in the moment because he, at the end of I think it was round 2, he didn't go for the handshake that fucking Russian man was going for. So he kind of looked like a dick, and then he came out the next round and he kind of dapped him up a little bit. They touched gloves that third round. I think he was just like so fucking violent and into it. He was just staring through the man. He didn't even recognize that he was giving him his hand to shake. I thought that was pretty interesting to see that violent mindset in there. But he's a violent fighter and he's a powerful fighter. I'm very interested to see. I mean, God, how old is he? How he's a young guy by the looks of it. I'm gonna even take a look myself because he's got so much room. Man, the man doesn't even have a Wikipedia page yet. He's only 32. He's on a Jesus Christ a 6-fight win streak. My God, he's so fucking good. If he more time at the gym, more prep, better opponents. This guy's a serious threat, I think.
Yeah. Not much more to add on. I agree. I think he's a fun guy to watch, and I don't know if I necessarily see him being a title contender, but I definitely see the guy being a fun guy, a fun fighter to watch, and maybe break into the top 15. I don't necessarily see him being a top 10 if I'm being completely honest.
Don't think? I think he's got more potential. I can see him working his way up and just steadily improving. And with a physique like his, I want to see him fight Paulo Costa one day.
I just see a lot of these guys seem to be really explosive and not necessarily, and like that seems to get him a long way, but not necessarily enough to actually keep him alive. One second, my PC is dying. I forgot to plug it in.
Come on, this is a professional show here, man.
This is some rookie shit right here. Shit.
Oh my God, this fucking loser. Whoa. This fucking gagoots over here doesn't know what he's doing. All right, everyone. This is my show now. Welcome back to the Noah cast, where we talk about how much Roie is a fucking goon. Look at his fucking dirty ass haircut. Thinks he's fucking slick or something. He's got this big ass fucking beard. Clean yourself up, man. Get your fucking shit together. Get your computer plugged in. Jesus Christ. Everybody leave a comment about how Roie is ruining the SmeshCast. Everybody leave a comment below. Roie, you're ruining SmeshCast. Are you back?
We're back to the show.
Hey, we got Roie, everyone. We got my boy Roie over here. What do we got? What do you got for us, Roie? Tell me about the news. Tell me about what we got coming up in the future.
Our boy Leon Edwards lost his fight against Khamzat Chimaev. Colby Covington's a little piece of shit and doesn't want to fight him. Jorge Masvidal's a scared little pussy and doesn't want to fight him. No one wants to take on Leon Edwards, and so we're getting a Belal Muhammad fight. And honestly, look, I guess there's two ways to look at it. Obviously, look, Leon deserves a guy, top 5, deserves one shot for the title shot. It needs to happen. However, Leon hasn't fought in 2 years. If you're Leon Edwards and you're saying, look, Belal Muhammad is a very good fighter, but if you're Leon Edwards and you really are the top 3, top 2, maybe best fighter in the division, like you believe you are, you should be able to beat a Belal Muhammad, who's a good fighter. He's a top 15 fighter, maybe even a top 10, but I don't think he's a top 5. He's not an elite. You should be able to beat him. And if you've had 2 years off, why jump in there with Colby Covington? Why jump in there with a Gilbert Burns, a Kamaru Usman? Take one fight. Tune yourself. It's the closest thing that UFC has to a tune-up fight. Get yourself going again. Get yourself some octagon experience. Kick off that ring rust, and then take on the big guns.
Yeah, I think it's a very smart move, and I think that with Leon Edwards,
get paid. Get paid.
Exactly. It's kind of like a glass half full kind of thing. I mean, he isn't that big name that people recognize him and where he's like he has any star quality yet. Sure. So on one hand, that doesn't afford him certain opportunities, like title shots that he arguably deserves. But it also means that he can take a fight against a guy like Belal Muhammad, who is ranked 13 as the ranked 3 in the welterweight division. He can take a fight with like that without much scrutiny, without much, any kind of negative attention of like, why the fuck are you beating this? Are you the number 3 beating a guy who, for the rest of the world is a no name, who's fucking 10 ranks below you. He can afford to do that because he's, he doesn't have that major name recognition. I mean, if they sent fucking Conor McGregor in there to fight someone, but let's say back when he was fighting Cowboy.
Cowboy's
but Cowboy's a big name.
Fight.
Cowboy's a big name. So
there's
a little more. There's more star potential. If they gave Conor someone who is like of a similar level, even probably Muhammad is not. It was at that point in time, Cowboy was higher ranked than him. But if they gave him like a ranked 12 guy.
Islam Makhachev is the perfect example of that. Ranked 12, 13, but maybe really good.
If they gave him someone who had no name, it would have been a very weird fight. They could sell anything with Conor. It would have been a very weird sell. It would have been that would have been a very weird thing to sell. Conor versus Gregor Gillespie. Perfect example.
Or Islam Makhachev is what I was saying. So I guess you can sell the Khabib on that one.
But exactly. But that's because of the high profile of Conor. People would look at that and just be like, that's fucking weird. That's a very strict. Nobody's going to have any comment to make this way or the other because Leon Edwards is unfortunately not so well. So this gives you an opportunity. The hardcores know. But even still, he hasn't been active in a while. I can't remember the last time I saw him in there.
2 years ago.
Yeah, I can't remember the fight. I can barely remember.
He just walked over RDA, and that's what RDA
is. So we need to, we'll get in this tune-up fight. He'll get an opportunity on the mic afterwards to say his piece because I figure he's going to win this fight pretty handily, and hopefully he gets I would like to see him fight Jorge Masvidal just A, so that they can settle the score, and B, because let's get Jorge out of the top 5 for fuck's sake. He doesn't belong in there.
Does someone please make Jorge fight anyone who is not Nate Diaz or Kamaru or for the title? Like, give him any real top 5 and watch him die.
Exactly.
That's all.
Man.
That's all I ask. He hasn't fought a top 5 fighter except for Kamaru Usman.
Man, none of the welterweights has been so weird. It's like none of these top 5 guys are fighting each other. I mean, what is it going to take for me to get fucking Stephen Thompson to the goddamn belt? Come on now. Let's get him to fight fucking Usman. I don't want to get on my soapbox like I always do.
Honestly,
but Stephen
I thought he
Thompson
should have fought
done
Leon.
dirty.
I thought they should have done Leon against Thompson. That would have gotten Leon a title shot, to be honest.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Fuck that. That would have got Thompson a title shot.
It would have gotten neither of them a title shot, in my opinion, because especially with Colby and Jorge just dragging their toes, which is really getting me annoyed here. I want that fight to happen already. One of these guys is ducking the other, and I think it's Jorge, but I might be wrong.
I think it's Jorge too. I think that Jorge is.
And that's, by the way, I think they gave him. I think they're saying Jorge, and that's why they gave the fight not to Jorge, but they gave it to Colby. They offered Colby Leon, not Jorge.
I think it's very interesting how they advertise, like on the UFC fights, when they show like the fighter of the year, little advert things for Jorge's. It's very interesting how larger than life they paint him as. How they show his ad and they show the Rock coming in there with his belt and fucking the big badass motherfucker,
of course,
walking in there, and they really sell it. You know what it says to me in that marketing? They market it as though they know that Jorge reached his peak. Yeah. They market it like Jorge is old news. Like he reached his peak with that badass motherfucking shit. And that's probably it.
Now that
I think that's accurate.
They're trying to relive that because they know that they can't recreate it, but at least they can bring that in, market it, and bring attention to another fight, and then give Kamaru Usman his rub, for example, or Colby Covington his rub.
Man, Jorge posted a video on Instagram the other night. It was just, there was no caption to it. It was just like a clip of like his highlights against Usman, where he's like boxing him up, and he did have some moments.
He does it all the time.
Boxing him up. Yeah, but it's so God. Yeah, well, I mean, shit. If you only show the parts where you were winning, it almost looks like you were winning in a fight where you got fucking dominated.
Yeah,
and it's very funny how the narrative's changing. It's interesting now that I've been watching the sport actively for a couple of years, and I've watched every single card like every week for a few years. Now I can look back and remember these fights, and it's been long enough that there's new fans jumping in who didn't see these fights. So it's interesting to see the narrative change. Like, I mean, obviously Masvidal's got his diehard fans who are not UFC fans who are going to jump all over that shit. But it's interesting to see people who missed that first fight see that and change the narrative and be like, Usman ain't shit. Masvidal's gonna fucking starch him. He's gonna kick the fuck out of him.
Look. I don't listen to MMA fans.
Absolutely fucking annihilated that fight.
I will never listen to MMA fans. MMA fans are they're just trolls. Look, we got on our last week's episode, we got a comment here. Oh, you thought Usman was hurt for looking for the outside. Burns can't never beat Usman. This guy with beard is just hating because you want Usman to lose. You'll be waiting. Wait,
hold on. Who are they talking about? Which one of us is guy with beard?
I think it was me.
Commenter, if you could please specify who guy with beard is, because I don't know if you realize, I don't know if you've noticed here what we're dealing with here, but I mean
anyway,
that's not clear enough.
Is because we said that Usman was at one point hurt. Now we just want Usman to lose, and we're just no. Look, I'm just calling what I see. Everyone in MMA says I think this guy is the greatest. Conor McGregor is the best of all time. He's infallible. You can't touch him. Oh, Masvidal will starch anybody he touches. Oh, Usman's undefeated. It doesn't matter. Everyone has someone that they attach themselves to, and they don't actually listen to facts. They don't listen to reason. They don't look even at what actually happens in a fight. Facts don't care about
your feelings.
Exactly. They have their fucking. It's like the political shit, right? No one actually looks at facts. No one actually looks at what's going on. They decide this is what I want to happen. That's what I decided is going to happen.
Annihilates MMA fans with facts and logic.
In other words, if you're an MMA fan and you disagree with what I'm saying here,
fuck you.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, fuck you. But keep commenting.
Please. We like the traffic,
Yeah, exactly. Where the fuck were we?
And if you're not an MMA fan, I don't know how you got this far in the podcast. So
yeah, this is we got a pretty small
in other words,
thing here. I don't know.
Go fuck yourself to our 10 listeners
watching this. Holy shit! Yeah, we kind of went off there for a little bit. So Leon Edwards, Bilal Muhammad. That's certainly a
good
matchup.
Fight. It'll be an okay fight.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. It'll be good. It's just because it's not like a on paper crazy like big name matchup. It doesn't mean it's not going to be good. It's going to be fun.
Speaking of surprising decisions, we had man.
This is the news. Here's the real news.
Just had his career saved. Ali Abdelaziz has to be a magician. I mean, again, when you're also managing, Khabib, Gaethje, Cejudo, like literally just everyone, Burns, Kamaru. I guess you have some power, but Ali Abdelaziz managed to save his man Otman Azaitar, the Turkish monster of a fighter. Honestly, he's amazing. I'd love to see him fight.
Yeah, it was very rough to see him get
kicked out for stupidity.
Make such a stupid decision. Yeah, I don't want to say it's rough to see him get kicked out because fucking obviously he was getting thrown out, but he because going up into that, he was one of the top prospects we had. He's undefeated, no? Or is he only has one defeat, something like that?
He's undefeated, maybe he has one loss. He has no more than one loss. Anyway, just to recap very quickly, for those of you who might not be in the loop, a couple weeks ago when we were in Fight Island on the Conor McGregor card, he let a man in without COVID protocol. He essentially gave him his protocol, let him into the house.
You're explaining that in a very quick fashion that doesn't quite cover the scope of what he did. This man scaled a building to try and subvert security or some shit.
He gave someone his access card. The guy went and snuck throughout the building, scaled walls, jumped between balconies with some bag of, I don't know what it was. So there's some weird.
And he tried to change. Then he tried to change outfits and fucking sneak back out. It was like some crazy MMA espionage.
Anyway, they decided to save him. I'm not sure how I feel. I guess I just don't know the details of the story. I really think that they know he fucked up. I think that there's a very real chance. In my opinion, what was in the bag, I think it could have been an IV, right? Something to do with the weight cut, something to do with maybe steroids, covering up them. And I think that's the reason maybe that the UFC kind of let him back in. They're like, oh, we know this kind of shit happens. It's all right. Go do your thing.
I don't think I don't know how concretely we'll be able to find out what exactly the circumstances are here. I really do hope that he, next time he fights, that they kind of grill him on this and, get the answer from the man himself.
Absolutely will not.
I don't know, man. Someone asked Conor McGregor on stage about his sexual assault allegations and trials. So, I mean, all it takes is one dedicated journalist to shake up some shit. But I really hope that they press about this because, when you really listen, let's really get down to it. We're in the midst of a global pandemic. They're in an isolated environment so that they can do, there's so much money on the line to get this underway. And he nearly compromised the whole thing. I don't know how they are going to reasonably get around it without it. The only reason this isn't a very notable incident right now that he's back is because he's not like a major big name. I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know what. Well, I know what's going to happen. He's going to keep fighting, and they're going to try and forget. They're going to try and forget that this ever happened.
Basically,
but it's so weird. It's so strange that I can't ignore it. You can't forget about this.
This is not the first time that Dana has actually gone back on a statement of, oh, he's out of the UFC. He'll never fight in the UFC again. Mm-hmm. If you remember back at when Conor Khabib happened at UFC 229, and we had that whole after the stage brawl, Khabib's corner, who like half of our UFC fighters, guys like Zubaira Tukhugov, for example, jumped into the cage, attacked McGregor, and Dana said those guys will never fight in the UFC again. And lo and behold, 1 year later, they were fighting in the UFC again.
Yeah.
When you have Ali Abdelaziz as your manager and you're kicked out of the UFC for not behaving, Ali says, hey, I'm Ali. I have Khabib. Yeah. And he's like, oh, shit, you're right. All right, I guess you
magic. I don't know, man. He's got to have some kind of fucking serious material on Dana that makes him think twice. Because I don't know, he's he's clearly, Ali's a powerful man and he makes things happen, and I don't know how he does it, but to out-muscle Dana White like that takes a lot. So but I mean that's what he is a lot. So that'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how long they wait before booking him for his next fight, because I mean, all in all, listen, I I think this is a questionable decision, and honestly, I don't like the precedent it sets. But as a fight fan, I can't be too disappointed. I want to see the guy fight. I was excited. We were all very excited about him, about our mega mind there. So, I guess to an extent, I'm excited to see Ottman's big ass forehead in the octagon again.
There you go. Well, let's move on to next week, because that is, I guess, all we have to talk about left. We've gone through. There's really not a lot of news out there this week.
It's we know all of our big matchups coming up in the following month, which is going to be explosive. So pretty much the dust is kind of settled now, and we're just kind of waiting for what comes next. But let's talk about this next card.
We got Jairzinho Rozenstruik against Cyril Gane. This is an amazing fight. The guys have a combined 1 loss between them, and I mean, when you're fighting in Gane, you get knocked out in 18 seconds. Can you really be surprised?
That's a weird way to say that Jairzinho's got 1 loss.
I mean, Jairzinho has 1 loss. That only loss was that 18-second knockout. Cyril Gane is undefeated. Like, these guys, both of them are coming in on a tear. Both these guys are just looked at as very high regard and as the future of the heavyweight division. Cyril Gane is that heavyweight that moves like a middleweight. He's amazing. Somehow he's a 2.5 to 1 favorite over Jairzinho Rozenstruik. That's crazy.
They're really looking highly at this guy. Like, Gane is the next generation of heavyweight. He's putting it together with skill and with power and with speed. He is a monster. He is a scary man. If I'm a heavyweight top 10, top 5 fighter, I got my eyes on him, and I'm sweating a little bit, because he's putting it together in a way that heavyweight should. But it comes back to our old discussion. Now that you move him up a little bit and you get him in a dangerous fight, is he able to withstand the power with the skill that comes with? Because Jairzinho is a fucking serious striker.
Well, he's a serious JDS, right? He just beat JDS. Yeah. So
JDS is on a hell of a decline right now.
No, this is the real test for him, and I really think this is where Cyril should be in his career. I think it makes sense, even though he's only 7-0. He has barely any fights. It does make sense, and I really do think that it
makes perfect sense. I think it makes as much sense as
the winner of this fight
getting moved up to Volkov.
The winner of this fight should be very much against Derrick Lewis for the next heavyweight shot. I really think that's how it should be, especially if it's Cyril Gane. I mean, beating JDS earns you this shot. Beating Jairzinho, I don't think gets you the title shot right away, especially when you have a guy on a 4-fight winning streak like you have Derrick Lewis. But then you have these 2 guys, Lewis and Gane, who will both be on this crazy trajectory. It just makes so much sense to match them up for a number 1 contender spot.
Actually, I wouldn't say that beating Jairzinho doesn't set you up for a title shot if you're looking at the rankings. Right? First off, I want to ignore John Jones in heavyweight until he's there. Because he just fucks up any discussion we want to have. And listen, these discussions are just for funsies at the end of the day. So any discussion we want to have is ruined by John Jones.
Let's say Gane beats Rozenstruik. Gane versus who wins? Sorry, who gets the title shot? Who would give it, Gane or Lewis? If Gane wins next weekend, I still think Lewis.
It's tough. Does Lewis even want a title shot?
Doesn't matter. Forget that though. Who deserves it more? Forget who wants it. Whatever. Fuck that shit. Lewis beating Blaydes is, I think, more impressive than beating Rozenstruik. I think beating Curtis Blaydes is more impressive than beating Rozenstruik. I think it means more. I think Curtis Blaydes was ranked higher. He was ranked number 2, by the way. 1 is Ngannou, obviously, so he's the best ranked guy.
I am interested in seeing where they move, where Lewis moves. There hasn't been any.
I think you give it to Lewis over Gane right now, even with a win over Rozenstruik. So I think Gane versus Lewis is what makes sense.
Yeah, you think so? I mean, shit, I'm not going to complain about that. God knows I'm not going to complain about that. That's an unbelievable fight. But I guess then the question is who gets the loser of Stipe and Ngannou.
The loser.
Honestly,
I almost want to do is, if the loser is not a super concussed Stipe, I would want to see Lewis and Ngannou and
said
Stipe
that really
Jones.
Cautiously and slowly.
And Stipe
and Jones, I do want to see.
I want to see. I actually think Jones or actually no. The loser faces Volkov. Loser of Stipe and Ngannou faces Volkov. Jones should face either Cyril Gane or Derrick Lewis, and the other one should face the winner of Stipe and Ngannou.
Actually, I quite like that. I think Volkov is one of my most I'm most excited about him in heavyweight right now. Probably
He's
more
still
than
a fight
anyone.
away though. He's still at least
Yeah, he is. But if he keeps up this devastating streak he is, where he's added some significant power to his game, he's scary, man. He's one of the most skilled boxers that they have out there, and he is able to use his length and his reach, and he's able to avoid some of these heavier shots, and he's quick. So Volkov is an interesting one. I would like to see eventually Volkov versus Gane. I think would be a great boxing match. There's a lot of very interesting matchups popping up in heavyweight.
Volkov and Gane is so much fun though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a very interesting one. I'm actually
Volkov Lewis again. That rematch. You're right, but I do think I don't think that Volkov deserves that yet. I think Lewis is on that 4-fight winning streak. I don't give him Volkov. I give him someone higher, but if he loses again,
it's almost like I keep forgetting that this is a 4-fight win streak now that Lewis is on, and if that doesn't earn you a title shot, like shit, what does?
It earns you a fight against Gane for a title shot or Rozenstruik for a title shot, and I think that's how it should is what's going to happen. I think. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know, man. I've just been after last night and looking at his record. Derrick Lewis is just such a confusing, strange person to me. Where I am not like. At what point do you say you are a top 10 heavyweight of all time? And I think I at this point, I don't know if I'd hesitate to put him in there. God, imagine him fighting. Imagine fucking peak Derrick Lewis fighting peak Brock Lesnar. Like imagine the pure muscle of that fight. I do think in that fight, fucking Lewis would hit him in the body. Brock would go down like a ton of bricks. But God. I'm loving heavyweight right now. I am so goddamn excited about this division.
It's been a while since we've been excited about the heavyweight division, but it's a good time. Yeah. Light heavyweight division also has a great fight next week. We have Magomed Ankalaev coming back. He's one of my favorite light heavyweights to watch. He doesn't have a lot of hype behind him, but he should. I mean, those wins over Ion Cutelaba were brutal. He has lightning hands. He has great wrestling, but really his hands are just so good. They're so fast. They're so powerful. Facing off against Nikita Krylov, who's another good guy, good fighter. Krylov, I think, will kind of do a good job of slowing down the fight a little bit. I think that's what he's going to have to do to beat Magomed. But I think Magomed Ankalaev is just a guy to watch, and he's a dark horse in that light heavyweight division. I can see him going up. I would love to see him fight a guy like Alexander Rakic or Thiago Santos. I want to see him fight those big, explosive, top tier light heavyweights because any of those matchups are so good. I'm expecting him to beat Nikita Krylov this weekend.
Yep, and he'll get a nice step up in competition if he does. So that'll be sky's the limit there, really. That's all exciting.
Other names,
Pedro Munoz is back.
Pedro Munoz against Jimmy Rivera is a great fight.
Yep. That's going to be a real scrapper. Always exciting.
We got our boy Alex Caceres fighting. We've got Angela Hill is fighting again. She seems to fight every other week. Alex Hernandez, one of the 20 Alexander the Greats that exist in the UFC, and it will be headlining the prelims against Thiago Moises.
Yep, and we've got Alex Oliveira coming back into the mix as well.
Alonzo Menefield. Ooh, oh my God, William Knight against Alonzo Menefield. This is a fight that is it's kind of buried into the prelims. This will be muscle. William Knight and Alonzo Menefield are both ridiculously jacked, ridiculously powerful. It's gonna be very, 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 very fun. Watch out for that fight next week.
It's interesting. William Knight on a 3-fight win streak, whereas Menefield is on a 2-fight loss streak.
The only two losses in his career, by the way.
Yeah, but let's see if that UFC experience that he has, really helps take him over the edge against the relatively
look how jacked William Knight is. He might be the most jacked guy in the UFC.
It's unbelievable. This guy looks like a fucking beast. His fucking traps are like someone parked two buses on the side of his shoulders.
Did you see the picture of him with his arms up after winning? Oh my.
My God, this man is a fucking unit. Like, how do you even lift those arms up? They're so heavy.
That is insanity. So William Knight is, but whoa.
I'm just gonna goddamn. Yeah, look, Google image search this man. Look at the size of his fucking shoulders.
Yeah, and let's just hope USADA doesn't visit him anytime soon because I'd like to see this guy fight a couple more times first.
what weight is he cut? That's light heavyweight. Okay, there's a picture of you Google image his name is a picture of him next to heavyweight DC. And holy fucking shit, Knight is gigantic. He is
Alonzo
ginormous
Menifield
to a
is
fighter.
also massive, by the way. If you search up Alonzo Menifield, he's also insanely big.
That's gonna be a fucking good one. All right. Hey, I'm gonna have to pay attention to that one.
Yeah,
right on.
It'll be early in the day. It'll be around 6 o'clock Eastern, maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock. But it'll be a good one. Anyway, anything else to mention this week before we wrap it all up?
My last thing that I'd like to mention, just going back to that, to Derrick Lewis, he does that belly crawl fucking thing every fight. But in this knockout made me see how goddamn intimidating he looks when he does that shit. Oh my God. That knockout's running through my head. I said it before. I feel like I witnessed a fucking murder. It's still in my head right now. And it's just given me like a whole new lease on life. And shit could be going this way or the other way. But at least I'm not Curtis fucking Blaydes.
Amen. Well, on that note, hopefully you guys have a better week than Curtis Blaydes had. We will talk to you guys next week.
Hopefully with Adam.
Covering another heavyweight main event and previewing one of the crazy cards of 2021, that March 6th card. Triple header of a title fight, 4 champions, 3 title fights. It's gonna be great.
I am motherfucking shaking waiting for this one. This is gonna be, oh my God, I am so excited. And you know what? And we're getting Joseph Benavidez back into the mix. And oh my God, Dominic Cruz versus Casey fucking Kenny.
Bro, we have just names on names on names. Thiago
that's
Santos,
a motherfucker of a card.
We'll talk all about this next week. Stay tuned. Come back. We will see you guys next Sunday. Peace out.